So we've seen Carlos Queroz first game, and I liked it. I liked the entire 90 minutes, and I'll tell you why. Yes, the first half was bad, it was horrible. But you see, in football, you cannot wish good performance into existence. It is very difficult to coach a team out of its bad tactical habits, especially for a team that does not have strong combinations or partnerships that you can build on. It's an impossible task. And I say that because if you look at yesterday's lineup, we didn't have our regular starting centre backs. There was no Jiku, there was no Salisu. Even in midfield, you can't look at that and say, this is our best midfield combination, or the fullbacks were our best combinations, or in attack, Jordan and someone has this synergy that we can build on. Nothing. Zilch. There was nothing for the coach to work with. So he basically was starting from ground zero. With that in mind, is why I say that I was not bothered by that first half performance, because look, the first half was the Black Stars pre-Carlos Queroz, the team that had lost 5 consecutive games before Carlos Queroz was brought in. There was no way the team was going to play anything other than what we saw in the first half. What I was looking out for was the way he was going to respond to the performance, the changes he was going to make, the timing of those changes, and the structure from the second half going. And all of those were answered. So the first thing he did at the start of the second half was to take off Thomas Partey, took off Abdel Fattah Issahaku. Later on, he took off Kamaldeen Sulemana. Later on, Jordan also came off. I like that. His introduction of Nyama and Caleb Irenchi brought a lot of energy, intensity, but also composure to the midfield. So, as I said in the previous video, if you haven't seen it, check it out. Caleb Irenchi's introduction worked magic, because now we had someone who could keep the ball, but also had the legs. So whenever his teammates had the ball, Irenchi was there as an option for them to pass to. His presence meant that the defenders didn't need to go long every time. And that significantly improved our passing options and kept our build-up going. I like that. So that sort of solved the problem of Thomas Partey in that first half. And even further up the pitch, you saw it. Irenchi had the legs to join the attack whenever we were going for it. And that's how come when we won the ball, when Brandon Thomas Asante won the ball high up the pitch, Irenchi was there and stayed with Ernest Nyama the whole time that he was attacking, to be able to put the ball in the back of the net from that rebound. So that midfield rejig was quite good. The options in attack that he brought on, I like the fact that he didn't waste time at all on the Fattah Issahaku substitution. Nyama came on, did a job. Bonsuba on the left as well. He did quite good. Offered better protection for Gideon Mensah while he was playing with him, but also on the attack. He knew when to pick his moments to attack and when to come short and keep possession and combine. And I love that kid because of the maturity with which he plays. Look, Bonsuba knows that he's blessed with space. He's very similar to Ernest Nyama in terms of his explosiveness, his close control, ability to combine. But he's not always in a hurry to take on defenders, especially when he knows that he's probably going to run into traffic or doesn't have the numbers in the box to put the cross in, even after beating his man. So his understanding of those dynamics are something that endears him to me, and I like how the coach used him yesterday. This team is going to take a lot of work. Carlos Queroz will have to make some bold decisions, especially with the young players. One of the first bold decisions I think he has to make has to be on Caleb Irenchi. We have seen the quality that kid possesses. We have seen what he brings to that midfield. Partey has served us well, but where we are now, there is too little time for us to wait around for Partey to find his match with him. He will still be useful, but as far as I'm concerned, going forward, we need to get used to Caleb Irenchi starting and taking on that responsibility of being the man that we build this midfield around. And so that is one bold decision that I think he has to make. The other has to be further up the pitch and the attacking options. You saw the introduction of Nyama, Bonsuba, and what it did for our attack. We need to have very uncomfortable conversations, and especially with regards to Jordan Ayew, because I think that he's not the same player that qualified us for the World Cup. In the World Cup qualification, he was the best player on the continent, one of the best in the world. I think 15 or was it 14 goal contributions, a record in Ghana's history, and will forever be grateful. But he's 33 now. He's not played a lot of games at Leicester City going into the World Cup, doesn't have enough goals in him anymore. So just like Thomas Partey, he will need a few games to get up to speed. And that's why I think that the coach has to start thinking about playing Brandon Thomas Asante a bit more, either him or Prince Edu Kwabna. But he needs to find a dynamic to work around. Because look, Jordan Ayew has been around for what? 16 years in the Black Stars. So at some point, we need to start preparing for life after him, right? Let's not make the mistake that we made with Asamoah Gyan, where up till now, we don't have a center forward, a constant center forward replacement. The Jordan performance in the World Cup qualifiers was an anomaly. He hasn't been the same since then, and he wasn't the same before then. And so we need to get this right and make sure that we start fading or facing Jordan Ayew out, we start facing Thomas Partey out, while there are still options that can learn from them, play with them, get used to the responsibility of leading the line and for the Black Stars and excelling. But so far, I think that the first impressions from Carlos Queroz were good. I'm not going to talk too much about tactics and structure because 1 week's body of work is not enough for him to instill or put together any long-term plan for this team. He's not even here for the long term anyway. What he can do is to coach this team to execute a game plan on a game-by-game basis. And I thought the first one went quite well. So those are my thoughts on this one. Please hit the subscribe button and put this on notification, and then share the video when you see it. Thank you very much for watching.